Hope everybody's having a great day. Djinn St. Baptiste here with Amy Truer than True. We're getting ready to talk about episode 3 of season 1 of American Gods. This one has a lot of reveals, and it also has a lot of snow. So we're pretty excited to talk about that. Say hi to the chat really quick. We have anime lover Nicole out here. Bear Island Josh. Yes, I am so sick of this summer. I'm honestly looking like I'm getting ready to sell my house, and I'm going to be in an apartment, probably like in a year lease. But I'm seriously looking at moving somewhere far north after that year's up, like Alaska. And I'm only half joking. We have Brown Holler out here, the one spanner that rules them all. I saw some girl named Amy Truer. Some asshole named John St. Baptiste. And I'm sure a few more people will join us soon. They know we're always late. I used to work at a place that, I would always, I'm always early to work. And it was this restaurant called Slats that I worked at years and years ago. It was like a little pub or whatever. But everybody else was always between 5 and 15 minutes late. So I had this joke about people being on Slats time, which is like an entirely different time continuum than everybody else. It's always like 15 minutes later than everybody else on the planet. But yeah, so we should get into this episode. Head full of snow. Which this, first off, for anyone who's read the book, there are a lot of scenes in here that are lifted directly from the book. A few things added, and a few things altered slightly, but I think thus far this is probably the most consistent to the book that an episode's been.
With the book stuff, we should have sorted this out beforehand, but should we try and avoid any kind of bookish spoilers while we're going through the
Yeah, it's spoilers, but like, for example, like Salim's story is almost lifted directly from the book. And I think we can definitely talk about that.
If we try and avoid any other book spoilers until like the last half hour or something.
Yeah, sounds good.
Cool.
We were talking about kids before the show. We weren't being professional, sorry.
We're never professional anyway, even when we're on air. It's
exactly.
Like now.
I have to be professional on Friday nights. So.
Vaguely.
Well, slightly more anyway.
I'm probably going to say this every week. I know I said it last week, but this episode was so much better than I remembered.
Yeah.
I think it's another one where it just, because you know what's going to happen, it adds to it again. Especially the bank stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Sort of getting to later.
Now, let me ask you, how long has it been since you watched this? Like, have you watched it since it first came out?
I have. I think I binged it maybe about a year ago, I think.
Okay.
I think I did like the whole season in like a couple of days, rather than having to wait. But yeah, it's been a while since I've watched it. I think I have read the book between then. And
that was all before season 2 started.
Yeah, before, but not close to season 2. You know, like it took probably over a year ago.
Right.
Yeah, like last year. Like around the beginning of last year, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds about right. But yeah, it's been quite some time, long enough that I've sort of forgotten the smaller bits of the episodes.
Right, of the little
yeah. Got the opening scene of this episode. I absolutely love that. That was sort of one of my favourite scenes from the whole of the season. So I was like, oh, that's in this one. I was sort of really happy to see that bit.
So let's start off. We've got a Somewhere in America. For those of you who are watching along, If you haven't caught this before, there are all sorts of times when it switches to another storyline, and some way it'll say somewhere in America. In this scene, it's on a piece of graffiti on the wall.
That's probably the most obvious one, actually, that they've done.
Well, except for when it's being written.
Yeah, all those are the coming to America ones that are being written. Not somewhere, but some of the somewhere in America ones, especially in season 2, were so subtle. They were like blinking, you'd miss it. I think there was one where it was parked cars, or I think it might have been the lines drawn in the car park spelt it or something, and it was like in the background. It's not really hard to see. It's one of the things like every episode I was watching for, trying to figure out where it was. But yeah, this one was really obvious.
So we have this woman in her old apartment. She's making dinner. It's Thanksgiving, obviously. I like how they went from the top of the building and then went through each floor. And you know the way apartments are designed, like the setup is the exact same. So it's like dining room, dining room, dining room, dining room, dining room, and on each floor it shows people having their Thanksgiving dinner.
What's her name? Mrs. Fadil was her name, and I like her cat because I really want a hairless cat. I absolutely love them, but I liked how she was.
Oh, go ahead.
I liked how she was talking to the cat. Look, she was having a conversation with the cat, but then you've got the whole thing of cats being linked to Egyptian mythology, and the fact that the cat seems aware of Anubis' presence when he's there as well, because the cat follows. It was just quite nice, especially because it's a hairless cat as well, because it was a Sphinx cat. Obviously, they're even more related to Egypt. But yeah, they're such lovely cats. Loads of people hate them, but they're lovely.
I like hairless cats.
I think they're fantastic. They're all cute and wrinkly. I had a hairless rat once, but it's not quite the same. Ellen Josh said Bast. Bast does show up in season 2. That wasn't her though. That was just a cat.
But if you know anything about mythology, she is connected to every cat in the world. Which has got to be terribly distracting.
I don't know, cats don't do a lot. They sleep most of the time.
Oh yeah, I'm looking right at it. So lazy, Shade. But when they do something, they're mesmerized.
Yeah.
If I had to deal with that, there have to be billions of cats in the world. I think they'd be driving me nuts. Oh, hi, Mackenzie. Good to see you out there.
Hi, Mackenzie.
So yeah, she calls him Anubis. So she knew who he was, and she's like, I'm a Muslim, and he talks about in her youth that a woman taught her. Oh, I didn't write down.
Tita. It means grandma. So it was her grandma that had taught her sort of Egyptian mythology. Yeah, and it was because she sort of knew all that he'd come to her. I think it's one of those things because that's what she believed as a child, that perhaps sort of as an adult she didn't really have any thought of what death as such would be if there was a personification of it. I don't believe they have that in Islam. I don't think there is like any sort of
Oh yeah, there's an afterlife. I mean, actually.
Oh no, there is. There isn't like any sort of
psychopomp.
like any. I don't think they have any mythology about something, like a deity or celestial being or something that comes to you when you die.
Right.
I don't think they have anything like that. So I think that's why she sees him, is because that's how she would visualize it from what she learned as a kid.
Yeah, definitely agree.
Mm.
And then Anubis gives her his speech about her death. She realizes she's dead, for one thing, which is cool.
Yeah, she doesn't question it at all, does she? It's like she just accepts it straight away, and she kind of turns around and sees herself on the floor, and she's like, "Oh, well, okay, yeah." You would expect people to maybe be somewhat in denial, or it's not real. I must be dreaming, or I don't want to go. That you'd expect that kind of reaction, but she's very much like, "Oh well, okay, yeah, let's go." It's quite sweet the way she sort of like she pulls the skirt down, just trying to protect her modesty a little bit. I thought that was really weird, like how is she touching her own body on the floor? But
yeah, my children are going to find me like this. And by the way, for any of you Gaiman fans out there who have read Sandman, there's a bit of an Easter egg there about seeing one's body after one is dead. It's from volume 1 of Sandman, which is a book I cannot recommend highly enough. In a lot of ways, it started off Gaiman's career, and I'd eventually like to get to it, but we're talking over a year if we do a chapter a week, so I don't know.
Brian Hollis mentioned she got him to taste the food.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she did. That was quite sweet. She's saying that they won't try the food, so like you should taste it. That was quite sweet.
Yeah, and and I love when he's telling her about now you're dead and this is going to happen and this is going to happen. He's giving her some hope.
Yeah, it's very nice, isn't it? You'd think when you think traditionally of in any sort of media, like not just sort of TV, but books and stuff as well. When somebody meets death, it's usually quite a frightening experience for them, and it's supposed to be like a very ominous and scary character, and he's not. He's just lovely. He's really reassuring, and he's really kind, and he's just he has a nice friendly conversation with her, and it's like he's there to look after her, which is what their role is supposed to be. But it's very nice to see that sort of more it's more human kind of, I suppose.
Right.
If an actual real person was in that situation, that's kind of how they would behave. They'd be like, well, this is what's going to happen, and it'll all be okay, and sort of very reassuring. Especially how he's sort of telling her what's going to happen with her family.
Yeah, what is it? They'll have a daughter and name her after you, and she's like some bullshit middle name.
Yeah, bullshit middle name.
A bullshit middle name.
Yeah.
He's just got a real sense of humor. Actually, I think, at least from my perspective, every time I've seen that, it's another homage to Sandman, because the embodiment of death in Sandman is nothing like gloom, doom. Death is extremely down to earth and tries to help people with their passing.
Yeah, because that's what death's job is supposed to be. It's not supposed to be to like just terrify people. It should be. It's more as a guide and to kind of get them where they need to go and ease that transition. And that's actually what he does. But But when they go out the window, what the hell did she do with that apron that she took off as well? Is it just like some haunted, ghostly apron that's going to be in that apartment forever now?
I think it's on the, because yeah,
She takes off the apron. It's just
body.
like, but it's not really there. That's just me being pedantic, by the way. It's completely irrelevant. But yeah, they can't. I love how they go from climbing up the stairs, and then you see there's just a never-ending stairs, and then it turns into the stone steps. And like the whole scene changes, and the cat's still there following them. And the scales. It was some of the comical moments that you get in this when he takes her heart and she goes, "Hey, I was using that." It's like, well, you kind of weren't because you did.
Yeah, and I love that, she gets to the top and oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. I mean, you can kind of tell it's a CGI background, but
Well, yeah, they
the
do some
stars.
lovely things with the sky in the whole of this episode, actually, don't they? We see the sky quite a few times throughout the episode, and each time it looks gorgeous. Obviously not real, but beautiful. So,
But yeah, she's like, "This is not Queens," which he's like, "This is not Queens." It was a really funny interaction.
yeah. And how sweet she is about when he's actually weighing her heart, the things that she says. Like they're such minor things that she says, and like the bad things that she's done. She says that she was unkind to the first boy who loved her. And she says boy, you assume, well, that's probably as a child, and stole a doll once from her cousin. It's like, okay, so you didn't steal a car or kill someone. You're pretty good. And she says that she tried her best, but he tells her your best is good.
Yes.
It's just very sweet. It's like that's what you worry about in that moment, is these tiny little insignificant things. Like that, those are the things that you're going to be judged for. And if that's the worst you've done in your life, you're doing pretty well, really, aren't you?
I can kind of relate because, like, I make far fewer poor decisions than I did in my youth, I guess would be the best way to put it.
Mm.
So, like, when I go to confession, a lot of times I really don't have a lie. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, I did this and, I did that. And so for me, it was a really humorous scene because it's like, yeah, I don't really have much to say. Like, I haven't done any big ones in a while.
It's like she hasn't ever. That's just why it's so cute. I think most people have probably done worse things like that over their whole lifetime. But we'll just assume we don't need people to fess up in the chat.
Yeah, definitely not. And so he offers her the choice of door, and she says, "Well, which one has my father? He beat me."
Yeah, she didn't want to go there. But
And
then you think, yeah, if that's the kind of person he was, she probably wouldn't end up there, would she? Wherever he went.
he's like, "You have to choose," and she's like, "You're a nice boy. Why don't you choose for me?"
And you don't expect that he would. You'd think it would be one of those things where they go, do you know what, I can't do that. You have to do it yourself. But he kind of does, and with the assistance of the cat, obviously.
Yes.
Which is a really funny moment. The cat's like, shut up, let's get it over with.
Anime lover Nicole asked, "What do those doors mean?" My assumption is that they're different afterlives.
I think they are the duat, they're called, and I don't think there's supposed to be 5 of them traditionally. Was it 5 that are there? Hang on.
It has been quite some time since I read the Egyptian Book of the Dead. Like probably like 20 years. So I am not completely refreshed on that. I probably should have done a little more research. But we all know how professional I am.
Yeah, it's the underworld or the realm of the dead. But there's not like supposed to be 5 different ones as such. Like that was just like a thing done for that. It's can't where they are, is it as well? Because it's like where they'd go for judgment.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. I don't know if anyone else in the chat's a bit more clued up on the ancient Egyptian mythology. But and then we go on to another scene with the lovely Sky.
Yes.
I absolutely love this character. She's the other Zoria sister, and I think this is another one that this one specifically was made up for. Like Neil Gaiman made up a third sister. In the actual mythology that goes around them, there's only 2.
Right.
There's like the morning star and the evening star they're referred to as, and this third one is the midnight star, which is why when it comes out at night.
I actually did some research into this when I heard that initially a couple years ago, and most of your Slavic folklore has never been written down. And a lot of anthropologists in the late 19th and early 20th century inferred that there was a third sister, but interestingly, it was mostly American anthropologists.
Oh. I mean, it could be that it's muddled in with especially because it's like a female thing that you've got like a triple aspect goddess is quite a common recurring theme in other religions and mythologies. It's perhaps been changed to kind of fit in with that a bit more.
Especially in Gaiman's work.
Yeah.
All the time. It's about triple goddesses.
Mm-hmm. So that makes sense. And she's very she's quite a she doesn't really explain exactly sort of what they do, but she's not kind of trying to pretend to be human as such. So she's not making any secret of the fact that they're like these mystical beings as such.
I love the teddy bear on the telescope.
Yes, I think she's got the bear, so like this is what we're looking for. And I don't think it's supposed to look like that. Oh well, no, it's not. It's not a bear, is it? Hang on. Doesn't she say that it's? Isn't it supposed to be some sort of hellhound, but it's in the constellation of Ursa Minor?
Ursa Major.
Ursa Major.
Yeah. Well, I think the reference is that in some cultures it's a bear, and in some cultures it's a hellhound. In some cultures, actually, she calls it a wain, which is like a cart.
Odin's wain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's the actual constellation.
Right.
Yeah.
Odin's got a death and war. What do you think his wain would be full of?
Death. Dead stuff. And
then she has a really long conversation with Shadow about well, she reads his palm.
She does, yeah. He doesn't want his fortune told again. but she says my fortunes are the best, because obviously all the sisters think that their fortunes are the best.
Right.
Oh, Bear Island Josh, really good point. He's mentioned the fates as well.
Fates, the Norns, the
Prism.
Graces.
Yeah, it's another sort of triple thing. Especially with them telling fortunes, they link quite well to that.
Three witches and Macbeth.
Yeah. Let's have a look. And she says, she goes, we have something, and then she's like, oh no, you have nothing. But what she's actually talking about is his belief, because at the moment he doesn't believe anything. But then she says you're on a path from nothing to everything. And she wants, then she realised, she says you keep getting off, because she knows that she said he sold his head to Chernobog.
Yes.
And
she finds out that he gave up the gold coin.
Yeah, he doesn't realise that at the time, does he? Because she says you had the sun itself, which, in case people hadn't made the connection, is the coin, the gold coin that Mad Sweeney gave him, does actually have a sun on it. And I think, is it in season 2? One of the episodes is actually called "The Sun's Treasure."
Yes.
And yeah, that they're sort of covered in. But she says she can help him, but first he's got to kiss her, because she's never been kissed.
Yes. And then she's like, we do this now. Which I thought was great. Like, no discussion, no.
Her analogy is just...
Oh, perfect.
It's disgusting, but in a nice way, like blue cheese or brandy. It's a backhanded compliment if you've had one. I can't imagine most people would appreciate their kissing being likened to that.
Well, I always took it that she was just referring to kissing in general. Like, not specifically shadows, just like the whole act of doing so.
Fair enough.
But yeah, like blue cheese and brandy.
Blue cheese is disgusting. Brandy is acceptable. But
blue cheese.
Oh no. If it's got fur growing on it, it's not meant to be eaten. That's my.
I love brandy. Won't be able to drink it for a few more months because it's nuclear hot here, but I do love me some brandy.
Anime Live Nicole said plucking the moon out of the sky like it's nothing. And that is what she does. Take the moon. And he's like, what? And she's like, oh, just take it. And she reaches up, and then the moon's gone from the sky, and she's got this silver coin. And she says,
daughter, not the
father. And don't lose it, don't give it away. And then she tells him to wake up, and he does. It's not till later on he kind of finds the coin and realizes that wasn't all a dream. Obviously, that's what he's thinking at the time, is that he's dreamt the whole thing. Bear Island Josh has said, one of the Doctor Who episodes that Gaiman wrote, biting is like kissing, except there's a winner. Who have you been kissing? Jesus.
I like that.
No, that is quite a funny one. So because he wakes up and it's kind of still night time, he goes to challenge Chernobog to another game. and he goads him into doing it, really, because he doesn't want to. He's just like, I can't kill you twice. And he's sort of saying, well, it's been a long time since you've been swinging this hammer. You might not be able to kill me with one blow. So
Yeah. Do you think that he's learning from Wednesday how to con people, or that it's just part of his nature?
I think it's a bit of both, because he does already know how to con people. He's just not as good as Wednesday. That's
Right.
how he ended up in prison, wasn't it? Because he tries to con a casino.
Something involving a casino, yeah.
Mm.
We haven't gone into it yet.
Yeah. Oh, well, spoilers. Whoops.
No, not really. We talked about that in the first episode.
I think he does. Yeah, yeah. So he did. He tried to pull off like a big scam against a casino, and he's he knows coin tricks and stuff, and you kind of get the impression that he's not entirely clueless to this kind of stuff. But I think he just doesn't really use it as much as Wednesday does. Wednesday, it's just his nature, whereas with Shadow, it's more of a conscious decision to do it. Like he's actually thinks, right, well, no, I am gonna, talk my way out of this, and this is how I'll do it. It's something that he's sort of consciously thought, well, there's got to be some way I can goad him, or convince him to do this. Whereas with Wednesday, I think it's just how he is. I don't think he can help it, because it's just his nature overall.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree there. Like it's just part of the way he is.
Mm.
So we alternate from here between Wednesday visiting Zoria. Oh,
Virginia, I think she is.
Virginia, yeah, and the checkers game.
Yeah. There's the sort of the flirtation between the two of them, because she tells him to go to bed when he comes into her room, and he says, "I'm trying to."
Yeah.
But he's talking about that she deserves better, and he's saying, in the old country you were draped with pearls, and you were loved and feared and waited upon. And she's quite happy. Like, she's saying, well, I've got food, I've got a roof over my head, it's fine. And he's sort of reminding her of how powerful they were when they had more believers, essentially, is what it is. That's what makes the old gods as such, is that some of them are becoming forgotten and don't have as many followers, and that's how they get their power. Like we see with Bilquis, when she hasn't got people worshipping her, she's sort of old and tired and everything, and it's that worship that makes her young again and gives them more power, and it kind of works that way for all of them. So she doesn't really have, they don't have very many people that believe in them anymore. So that's why they're in, a small rundown apartment, and that's pretty much it. They've got food and they've got a roof, and they don't really have much else, materialistically anyway.
I love that word, excess suits you.
Yes. I like when he's saying that as well. She's brushing her hair, and that the brush that she's using does actually it looks like a really expensive antique.
Right.
And because when he says in the old country, you'd think that there's probably some sort of crossover between their cultures because of the area of the world that they would originate from. So the way he speaks to her and about them, it kind of shows that there's a history between them. That they've obviously, it's made fairly obvious that they've had some sort of romantic relationship in the past.
Well, you have to remember that those two cultures are relatively close to each other.
Yeah.
A lot of trade, especially from the 9th to about the 13th century.
Mm.
A lot of trade between Baltic countries and what was originally Germania.
Yeah, and we've got all the thunder going on in the background here. It's supposed to be ominous, I think. And he wants her to tell his fortune. When she told Shadows, like when she tipped out the coffee grounds, there was an actual shape that kind of resembled like a bird. But when she tips Wednesday's coffee grounds out, it's just a blob. It doesn't really look like anything at all. And she says, the thing that you want to do, you'll fail and they will win. And that's it. She doesn't specify what thing or who. But I love that he says that's only my fortune today.
Yeah.
Like he's saying, well, it could change. But maybe it can. Who knows? And he wants her to come and walk outside, and she's saying, it's going to rain. And then we go back to the hole. They've obviously got some sort of history with each other because he goes, since when were you afraid of getting a little wet? Which was a bit suggestive. So that's the way I interpreted it anyway.
Oh, yeah, he's a charmer.
Yeah. Trying to quite literally charm the pants off her, I think. And when they go out, we're kind of going between. I've got the script up on the screen, so I'm sort of trying to skim over the bits that are the game at the moment.
Oh, Josh, that's very true. The North traded worldwide, yeah. Everywhere from Russia to at least Greenland and possibly further.
And he asks her if she remembers when they were young. She says barely, and then he says, "Let me remind you." And then there's more sort of thunder, and then she tells him that she can taste him in the rain and asks what he's done. Like she's saying, "Oh, you've been up to something." And she says she can taste war, and so it's pretty cool. And then while this is going on, we've got this sort of battle between Shadow and Chernobog. And it's more of a competition this time.
Hi, Chile. Chile.
I just said Shelley, but who knows? Hi. I think we've been on air about 40 minutes. I think. What we're 38 minutes. But we waffle, so you haven't missed much.
Yes, to which one? Is it Chile, or Shelley?
You're going to have to just write it out phonetically for us.
Yeah, seriously. I'm sorry. It's all right. Everybody spells my name wrong. I don't know why people put the H in front of the O, but a lot of people do that. I've never figured that out.
I think that's just poor spelling. Oh, like Shelley.
Oh, like Shelley. Okay, cool.
Right. So the checkers game that's going on at the same time. You know more about checkers than I do, so.
Yeah, this is one of those things that I was talking about that's lifted straight out of the book. Zernabog makes his first move, and Shadow remembers the first game. And what does he say? You're playing the same game, old man. You've already lost. Which Zernabog, when Shadow made his first move the last game, sad to Shadow, he's like, you've already lost. So, yeah, I thought that was really well done.
Yeah, he says you only get to fool me once. Yeah, Shadow's kind of, although he seemed kind of under a lot of stress and pressure, I think with the earlier game, he still remembered sort of how Chernobog actually played. So he's still, he's got the advantage that he's kind of memorized what he was doing. So he straight away he's able to predict what he's going to do this time. And because he's learned how to play, he said he learned how to play checkers when he was in prison. He's probably got a lot more variation in sort of how he plays it. Whereas it seems that Chernobog's kind of old habits, maybe he's overconfident and thinks he can do the same thing again and beat him again. So he's sort of too cocky for his own good.
Well, Brunholler has a good point here. Fortunes, tarot, runes, etc. are usually made relevant for the moment they're cast, as there are too many variables for something to be set in stone. Yes, absolutely agree. Mm-hmm. If one believes in such things, then yes, they tell the situation at the moment. I've always described it as saying, if you keep doing this, this is what's going to happen, as opposed to this is what's going to happen. And it's also kind of like any oracle. Everything's couched in riddles. Ask Oedipus. Ask his mom and dad. Oh, and then it rains finally.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about how generally they use practical effects,
Yeah,
CGI. When they do, it's so well done. And the rain scene, I just think is just so awesome.
and you've got the sky, like you have the clouds kind of closing in around. You've got like just almost like that ring of clear sky and the stars, and the clouds are coming in all the way around. Storm clouds don't move like that, so you can see that sort of what's going on there is the epicenter of it all, because it's surrounding the whole thing and not just coming from one direction. It's kind of coming from all the different directions at the same time. Which kind of shows it's almost supernatural.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I thought that scene was just done so well.
Mm-hmm.
Really powerfully shot. The angles. I need to check and see who directed this episode. I'm interested to find out. So Shadow wins the game.
He does. And from the way Chernobog is, like he's been goaded into playing the game and he's been losing, and you expect him to react quite badly. You would think that he'd kind of lose his temper. Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, you think he's going to lose his temper?
You think he's going to like get really pissed off, and he doesn't. He's just like, okay, fair enough. You won.
He just laughs it off.
Yeah, because he's good.
I will help your boss, and then I will kill you. It's good. It's good.
I'm just having a quick look who directed it. And I can't find it.
Yeah, this is true, Ron Holler. In the show, he's already met the Midnight Sister, but in the book, yeah, the games are played literally back to back.
Mm-hmm. It was directed by David Slade.
Okay.
I don't know who he is.
I will look that up later.
Do we want to talk about Mad Sweeney before we? This is
because it's
only a short scene. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has anybody out there ever woke up in a bar toilet with a gun held to their head? I can't say I have either. I was just curious. I've been in some pretty weird situations, but that doesn't happen to be one of them.
I don't think I've ever fallen asleep in a bar. No, I haven't.
But yeah, so Jack comes in.
Yeah.
Oh, and she has a fine freaking rifle there, by the way. It's a gorgeous piece of machinery.
I'll take your word for it. You kind of get to see how cocky Sweeney is about his luck because he's used to having luck on his side.
Yeah.
And he says, you won't shoot. You know, he says, you'll try, but the gun will jam, or worse, it'll backfire and you'll lose 2 fingers. And yeah, she does shoot the gun and it smashes the bottle right out of his hand as he's drinking. And you kind of see his face. He's kind of gone, what the fuck? This is not supposed to happen. And he starts walking. He's walking along the road.
Yes. Now that I have done a few times in my life.
The walk of shame. Yeah, and then we get the guy pulls over to offers him a lift. It's so funny the way Sweeney's just kind of like, are you a rapist?
Yeah, are you a rapist? Have you murdered anybody? Not recently. And then he gets the AA speech.
Yeah. And he's just like, Sweeney's just like, whatever. You know, he's just so laid back about the whole thing. He just lies back in the seat and says, "Don't touch my knob." Okay, that's all he cares about.
It's funny because the guy at least genuinely seems to be being a good Samaritan.
He is, yeah.
Kindness. And 30 seconds later,
the pole, that it was so well done. Again, it's something that I've mentioned before about how they do their effects and stuff in this. It's actually really good because they don't just use CG to do it. They use practical effects as well, and it shows. And it's quite shocking actually the way it happens. If you're not expecting it, you don't know what's going to happen. It is really, it's sudden and it is very graphic the way they do it. I mean, you even see like blood pouring out the inside of the pole, which is more realistic to what would actually happen.
yeah.
And he doesn't die straight away as well. I'm not sure if anybody quite noticed that because when Sweeney sees what's happened, he's trying to speak still. But yeah, it's again, Sweeney just doesn't really give a shit. He's just kind of like, oh, for God's sake.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the car is about to crash and he's just like, fuck. And then
You're right, Barry Allen, Josh. It was Scott Thompson from Kids in the Hall.
Yeah, I recognise the actor. And okay. Yeah, when the police come, they say, "Oh, you know, it's bad luck," and that is what makes Sweeney realise that he's lost his lucky coin.
Yeah.
I
love how he's just pulling them out and just dropping them on the ground like all the other coins.
Yeah, but how does he know which one's the lucky one? They all look the same. But yeah, it's just pockets full of gold coin, and they're real gold. You know, they're not
Correct.
It's yeah, you know, they'd be worth a lot of money, and he's just kind of chucking them around like, because he doesn't remember what he did with it. That's the thing until later on when he's told. And then we go to Celine.
Oh, we're skipping the beginning of the bank.
Oh, it's literally just Wednesday says we're going to rob a bank. That's all.
I love the just the way matter of fact way he says it though. We're gonna rob a bank today. You want some coffee?
Yeah, we don't get to the sort of proper conversation about it until hang on a minute. I think it's after the scene with Celine and the Djinn.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, because we don't go back to them until the end of the episode. So Celine's a salesman.
This is another part that was lifted almost directly from the book. The whole scene, everything with Celine.
He's I love the actor who plays him. Actually, he plays the part so well. We see more of him in later episodes. It's kind of don't want to spoil stuff. They make more of his character in the show than they do in the books.
Right. In the books, this vignette is everything involving him.
Mm-hmm.
And it's extremely true to the book. This is also the scene that a few people felt was a little too explicit.
Put a lot of people off. Yeah. It's controversial, I think, in more than one way. I think, yeah, enough people got through Bilquis and her man-eating lady bits, but yeah, this is quite a few people kind of were just like, yeah, I'm not watching this anymore now. I think seeing we get dicks on screen again, which again is not a common thing in any kind of TV series, so that kind of shocks a lot of people. But then having quite a very, very overt gay sex scene, plus they're two Muslim men, is that it pushes so many
One's
buttons.
a Muslim man, the other one's Middle Eastern. I don't know.
Yeah, I suppose it's part of the same religion, but yeah, you've got two men of color as well, and from cultures where homosexuality is still like considered like to be horrendous, even worse than it still is in more in non-religious culture. It still has a stigma attached to it now, but it's even worse in their cultures because they have a more archaic view of it. I'm pretty sure it's still punishable by prison and worse in quite a few countries.
I think in a lot of countries in the Middle East, it's still like executionable.
It is. So you're adding a whole other level of controversy with that as well. And actually, from my point of view, I think it was a genuinely touching scene. It's not pornographic. It's actually quite romantic in a way. It's not it's not done for shock value, which these kind of things often it's things like that can be seen as being done for shock value, but you don't get that vibe from this at all. It's important to the story.
Agree.
I think it's filmed in quite a sympathetic way. You know, it's not, like I said, it's not sort of overtly pornographic. It could have been, but they've done it. I think it was still done tastefully.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's much more. It's more of a romantic thing. But that's obviously that's just how I interpreted it. And everyone in the chat's gone really quiet. But yeah, I think, and I loved how in the taxi, as soon as Salim actually sees his eyes, he doesn't freak out. Most people would absolutely shit themselves if they saw someone with fire coming out their eyes. Yeah, it just, but seriously, most people would be absolutely terrified, and he straight away is like, "Oh, okay, so you're a Djinn, that's fine." And he straight away sort of tells them about. I think this is his grandma had said that she'd seen a Djinn once.
Yes.
Hang on, my scrolling thing's not working. Yeah, it was his grandmother. Let's say Ifrit. That's
It's a type of Djinn.
yeah. I think it's supposed to be like this. The Djinn are like elemental deities, and an Ifrit is a fire Djinn, and then you also have like you get water Djinn and an air Djinn and an earth Djinn as well. But yeah, he just accepts it straight away. Oh, okay, you know, there's a Djinn driving the taxi, and his eyes are on fire.
Yeah.
Not
I love that during their conversation because, you know, the Jinn's driving and then somebody cuts him off and he swears in Arabic. I think it's Arabic, right?
yeah, they are. They're speaking Arabic. Yeah.
And they show the subtitles right above the Arabic letters. I thought that was just a really cool effect.
Yeah, it's nice that they actually put the subtitles in Arabic as well as in English. So I ended up with triple subtitles on my screen because I watch it with the subtitles on anyway.
Oh,
yeah, so I've just got like half a screen text. But yeah, it's nice, and that's what kind of makes the connection with them in the first place. Is that as soon as he hears them speak Arabic, he starts talking to him in Arabic, and that's how they make the sort of the connection. And then you would think that then obviously most people would then be scared off by the whole fiery eyes. But yeah, I like they said. Josh has said, "I'm as straight can be," and I thought it was very tasteful and emotional. And Bron Hollis said it was beautiful.
yeah, it was. I mean, it didn't bother me at all, and I love the transition from like the dingy little hotel room to like the middle of the desert.
Oh, to the middle of the desert, yeah. That, and again, you've got this absolutely stunning sky in the background, and yeah, it is absolutely amazing, and you kind of get the impression because after that bit, you kind of go back to seeing Salim's face that it was almost like he was transported there, almost.
I wish you could see me the way I see you. I don't grant wishes.
And he says, "You do." I wish you can see what I see.
Yeah.
But then he does, because you can see his reflection in Salim's eyes. That's what makes it so romantic. It's like it's this real bond between them.
Right. Amy, can you waffle for a minute? I have to get up for just a second.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
You shall waffle away.
This is the waffle break. It happens every episode.
The waffles never stop, really, do they?
Well, you know, there's a hamster out there that only has to pee like once a year. God thought it'd be a really funny joke.
So after I don't grant wishes, this is where we move on to the bank robbery discussion between Shadow and Wednesday. And Wednesday, bold as brass, says, "This is the bank I'll be robbing. Let's go and say hello." Because he actually intends to go in there. We find out why afterwards. But you see how very clever Wednesday is, how he manages to dodge all of the CCTV cameras. And it's like every single one of them, Shadow manages to give a full frontal view of himself too, because it's like he ends up looking at each one face on and goes, "Oh, fuck." Whereas Wednesday's very carefully like, as he's walking around, as if you get the impression that that's a very well practiced skill. And he's before they go in, he's telling Shadow to have faith, or if not in him, faith in a higher power wanting him to succeed. And he's trying to say it would be fun. Are you back? I was talking about the cameras in the bank.
Oh yes.
How Wednesday dodges them.
Yeah, I can completely relate to the way Shadow felt. Like anytime I'm someplace with a bunch of cameras, it's just really, really. Yeah, it makes me terribly uncomfortable. But yeah, Wednesday just dodges them.
Yeah, very well practiced. Oh, no, cameras don't bother me. My God, when I came over to the coming through customs, when I came over for con, that was intense. You really do get a camera actually in your face, like here, and you get fingerprinted on the way through as well. So that is the first time in my life anyone's actually taken my fingerprints.
Really, here in the States, usually they do it when you're a little kid.
Really?
For identification purposes, like in case there's an accident or something like that.
You only get
Or at
fingerprinted
least that's
here.
what they say.
You only get fingerprinted here if they need to check your fingerprints because they think you've done something bad. It's not it's certainly not a procedure thing. So it's one of those things. It was like a bit of a, okay, you need all my fingerprints. That's fine.
Like if I remember correctly, my sons, they actually did, like when he was born, his fingerprints and footprints, his little hoofy woofies.
Goofy woofies. Oh, that's kind of a thing that some people do with newborns, just as like a keepsake. It's like footprints, but.
Oh no, I think the hospital did it. Like I said, it's for like identification, like if somebody's in an accident.
That's really fucking weird. But
oh, it's really intrusive. It's terrifying.
Please don't get me started on US hospital obstetric practices because we'll be here all night with me ranting and swearing a lot. And I was just saying, Wednesday's mentioning faith here. He says, "Have a little faith." And Shadow says, "Hell no." And then he says, "What about faith in a higher power wanting me to succeed?" And he's just like, "Fuck no." But he says that you're my bodyguard and you guard my body. And at the moment, it's going to the bank, but not robbing it. And he's trying to tell him it's going to be fun. He's like, "Come on, you can learn this. It's going to be great."
Did you notice that when even like little tiny things like this is somebody who's getting ready to make thousands and thousands of dollars robbing a bank, but when Shadow's watching Wednesday through the window when Wednesday's buying the hot cocoa, and he pulls the wrong change trick.
Yes, I couldn't tell what it was, but the notes were different.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like I was saying before, it's just his nature, isn't it? He just can't help himself. And Shadow kind of points out that their agreement was that he wouldn't do anything illegal. And he says, well, you're not. And then, well, maybe a little aiding and abetting, and of course, receiving stolen money. Like, well, it's not that illegal. Like he's trying to make out it's no big deal.
Yeah, on the scale, it's really not too terribly bad, I guess.
Mm. And that's when he's like, I'll get you a hot chocolate. It's fine. You're not going back to prison. It's all good.
And he tells him to think about snow.
Yes.
And then they get to the Kinkos. And this was one of my favorite pieces of dialogue in the whole episode. The woman's printing up the "Repent Now" signs.
Yes.
And just the conversation that Shadow and Wednesday have about Jesus.
Oh, all the different Jesuses. This really tickles me, especially because we kind of see a bit more of this later on without trying to spoil anything. But it really tickles me that you have got like all these Jesuses everywhere. Because you've got sort of all these different Christian cultures that all have just this slightly different belief.
Oh yeah,
Slight variation in how they actually see Jesus, so that you've got all these different ones. And Wednesday means what he's saying, but it comes across to Shadow that he's talking hypothetically, but he's not. Yeah, he says he's doing very well for himself these days.
And what does he say? A lot of people need Jesus.
There's a lot of need for Jesus, so there's a lot of Jesus.
And he also says a line that I really liked was, that woman thinks that Jesus suffered for her sins. Why did he have to do the suffering? And they get into what's considered one of the most traditional theological discussions about the ineffability of self-sacrifice and so forth. I just think it's interesting that they're taking like a classic theological argument and having it sitting drinking cocoa in a Kinko's.
Is that like a chain store, by the way? Because
it's they do copies, they do mailing, they FedEx.
Oh, okay.
FedEx. It used to be Kinko's, then it was Kinko's FedEx, and I guess now it's just FedEx.
Right.
But you can get all sorts of, you can get business cards printed and, order a computer, get signs made.
I don't think we have anything here that would do all of those things in one place. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Good for small business owners, bad for convenience.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean,
that's the American dichotomy.
Having had business cards in the past, when I was self-employed, I just ordered them online.
Mm-hmm.
Same for like posters, because I still am qualified as a baby wearing consultant, and that was my job. That's what I actually did for a living. So I used to have posters and stuff that I just got them printed online because it was easier. I'd never in a million years have thought of actually going somewhere to have them printed. And yeah, I want to send a parcel, I do it at the post office. That's pretty much it. So we've got the before the talk about all of the Jesuses. you get that little thing in Shadow's head of like the car driving over the marshmallows.
Yes.
Looks like it's driving over like snowy hills. And you see him, I think he's kind of half asleep, and we see all these lovely the snowflakes and the ice crystals forming. I love how they did that, and how it, like, he's imagining everything in the room freezing, and you see like the ice slowly creeping across the photocopier.
Yeah.
It's fun. I love the way they did that. It's so good. It's almost like the thought creeping out of Shadow's head and out into the world.
Embodying.
So yeah, that's how I interpreted it anyway. And after their sort of their conversation about all the Jesuses, they go up to the counter to say what they need, and then he turns around. He says, "Oh, that's enough." And Shadow's like, "What?" And he's like, "There's enough snow. We don't want to immobilise the city." And you look out the window, and it has actually started snowing.
Yeah.
So magic, and they go to eat. Well, Wednesday's eating because he really does love food, doesn't he?
Yeah. In fact, Shadow says, "I'm not hungry," and he says, "That's no reason not to eat."
Who says you have to be hungry to eat? And Shadow just can't get his head around that, it wasn't supposed to snow today or be cold, or I thought of snow and it snowed. Like, he's so confused at this point. And Wednesdays, he says, "You're perfectly okay believing that tiny people on television can predict the weather, but you crinkle with consternation at the mere suggestion that you could make it snow." And Shadow's trying to say, like, it's fantasy or science, or reality and fantasy. And Wednesday's kind of like, that's not, those aren't the only two options, essentially.
Do you have an echo for me?
No. Am I echoing?
Does anybody out there have an echo from me? I guess it just fixed itself because I'm not hearing it now.
Oh, well, you could hear it. I've not heard. There's no. All the sounds fine. My video stream went a little bit weird a couple of minutes ago, like it did last week, but it's fine now. So Sweeney comes into the cafe where they are,
Which is really interesting because it's like that's another thing from the book, that it's almost like an Easter egg because they don't talk about it, but it's like this little rat diner and a knick-knack store combined. Mr. Wednesday does mention that he loves the ambiance and so forth, but they don't really go into the why and so forth, but they do show the shelves in the background and so forth.
This is where Sweeney has figured out where the coin's gone, or what he did with it. So, are we saying that he gave him the wrong coin? It was his lucky one.
I came to get my coin back from this cunt. So where's my coin, cunt?
Yeah. I said, "This cunt's got my coin. Give him my coin, cunt." And he's like, "You gave me the coin." And Wednesday's like, "Yeah, I witnessed this."
He's just getting fit spit nails.
Yeah. And he's saying, like, no, it was the wrong one. Like, that was my lucky one. And Shadow's really like, well, you know, you should have looked after it. Should have been a bit more careful. And he says he'll give it back when he tells him how he plucked it out of thin air. He says, I plucked it out of thin air is how I plucked it out of thin air. You bug-eating nonce. Which is a delightful insult, which I'm totally going to use.
What was it?
Bug-eating nonce. Never heard that one
Nonce.
before. It's an interesting combination. And then Shadow says, well, I threw it away. Tells him where he threw it away, and he's honest about it. He says, it's on my wife's grave. But Sweeney, being Sweeney, says, suppose I'll just be one more in a long line of men to climb on top of your dead wife. It's a pretty scathing comment to make, but that's the first time we actually hear him say dead wife.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, we'll hear that again.
Yeah, once or twice.
Something I completely forgot to mention as well, in the camera scene with the CCTV, if you slow it down, you know, there's a point where you actually see the camera and you're looking at them through the camera. If you slow that down, there is a silhouette of a man standing, wearing a top hat, like someone's there watching them from inside the camera.
I've watched this through like 5 or 6 times. I'll have to do that.
I will try and get you a screenshot of it. But yeah, obviously you know what that's hinting at, but we don't want to spoil anything like that just now. But yeah, it's a pretty cool Easter egg. I think that's it. Sweeney's just literally like, right, well, I'm off and I'll see you in Wisconsin.
What is it like? Have a nice day, Ben Sweeney.
Good luck, he says to him.
Yeah.
And he goes out, he says, I'll see you back at the car. I'm just going to make sure he doesn't steal it. So he goes sort of after Sweeney, and then I think like Shadow follows, and he says they've got to go and do some shopping. And
yes,
he
can't do anymore, really. I mean, I guess in a larger city like Chicago, there might still be a few payphones, but you don't really see them anywhere.
Yeah, I can't think of where there would be a payphone anywhere. Outside a bar that we go to fairly often, there is a phone box that's been converted into a cash machine, an ATM, which is quite cool. And it's still like the same thing, but it's just got that in there instead of the phone. Chat is ahead of the audio.
Yeah, we're still trying to work out a few kinks in StreamYard, so there is a bit of a delay. There always was with Hangouts too. It's more pronounced with this program.
Yeah, I think with Hangouts, you can't tell when you're just in the chat. It's more noticeable to us. Like
Right.
there's always a lag between us to it, because obviously everyone can only see us on the YouTube screen, so we can see each other we've got the same image on the actual video call, which is, and YouTube slightly behind that, but it doesn't normally affect the chat, which is weird. But yeah, the only thing I could suggest, Brian Holler, is close the video and then go back to it.
Bear Island Josh, goodbye. Have a good afternoon. If you get a chance to watch the rest of this, it should only be about 15, 20 more minutes.
Okay, bye, Josh. Have a good week. All right. Oh, that's quite a big delay that Ron Holler's got. I noticed that you were all talking about the sound in the chat before we heard you ask it. That's quite a long delay because nobody.
Yeah, that's a bit of a minute.
Yeah. I would just like close the video in your YouTube and then just kind of try and click back into it from like your subscriptions or something, and it should fix it. I think that's about as technical as I can offer. It's basically the equivalent of switch it off and switch it back on again.
It's more technical.
Just close it and reopen it. It's the same thing. That's what I do when things don't work properly. So the bank thing, he hasn't actually even told Shadow what he's going to do or exactly what Shadow needs to do.
Right. He just gives him the business card.
Yeah.
And he's like, who the fuck is this? And he's like, you the fuck is this? What's the A stand for? I don't know. Come up with something.
Yeah. It's entirely up to you. And he says, asshole's what I feel like. And he goes, nice to meet you, asshole. And he says there, I'm James O'Gorman. Do you meet my friends? I've got a card too. And then he says, I'm going to leave you with this one question. If at the end of the night you don't end up in jail, will you believe in me? But then says, don't answer. Which is awesome. And then we've kind of got the whole, you kind of see the whole set that's going on. So the bank's closed because, oh no, it's not closed, is it? No, it's the overnight thing. Yeah, so he took loads of the deposit slips when they were in the bank. That's what he did. He took a stack of them. And all he's done is propped up a sign that says the machine's out of order, so people can't make deposits. And he's sat there looking all official. He's got his little clipboard. He's got all the slips, and he's just basically saying to people, "Oh no, it's not working. Just do this, and we'll kind of take care of it." And you get the impression of the bank's closed. This is like the end of the day. This is going to be people from like shops and things bringing their whole day's worth of takings to the bank. So it's going to be a lot of it.
Yeah, and something that they took directly from the book.
Give me 2 seconds. Just keep talking.
Oh, you're fine. Is the big fuzzy earmuffs? Because in the book, Shadow thinks to himself that's what makes the outfit. Like to make Wednesday look like he's trying to look, which is like, this old put upon security guard. The fuzzy earmuffs are what does it. Now, since this is kind of the penultimate scene in the episode, I do want to wait for.
I'm back.
Yeah.
I told you I wouldn't be long. I was just saying goodnight to Ben. He's going up to bed. So
Okay.
yeah, it's.
Oh,
he's already gone. He wasn't hanging around. So it's just gone 11, but he gets up a lot earlier than me for work.
I was just talking about from the book the thing with the big fuzzy earmuffs.
I complete the look.
That was like straight from the book.
Well, you need them in that kind of weather anyway. He was prepared for the for the cold.
Right, but I just mean that they look so ridiculous.
Yeah, they do. I don't think anyone can pull off earmuffs anyway, really. I do own a pair. They look stupid.
I don't believe I own a pair. I do from when I used to hunt have one of the hats though that covers.
Oh yeah, with the flaps. They're funny. Yeah. Ben's got one of those actually.
It's like
fucking ridiculous.
Hunting in late November, it gets pretty cold.
I was going to say your cold is a lot colder than ours. I think your winters are a lot colder.
You're standing still for like hours starting at 5 a.m, so it's good to do everything you can to keep yourself warm.
I like that my hobbies can be done indoors where it's warm and dry.
But I don't hunt anymore because standing in a tree for 4 hours at 5 in the morning and that kind of weather is just not fun.
It took you this long to realise that, though. You had to do it a few times before you were like, yeah, this isn't fun.
It didn't bug me as much in my youth. As I get older, it's like, all those aches and pains and things like that.
The cold makes worse. Yeah. I was feeling that today because we had the doors open for a delivery for nearly 2 hours at work, and they're right opposite where my desk is. So I got to sit in a draft for 2 hours and feel considerably older than I actually am when I realised it was making my joints hurt.
Oh, welcome to my world.
Only 33.
I know.
I'm
Got
not
like
supposed to
10
be.
years on you. Oh, hello,
Yeah.
Fearless Mermaid. Welcome.
Hello.
It's fun that you're late. We've still got a wee bit left.
We have, and you can always watch it back later.
Yes, please do. If you do so, leave things in the comment section down below. Tell us any thoughts, any ideas, anything you think we might have missed. Because we're not perfect and we do waffle a lot. But so yeah, we get to see the actual heist, and then the cops pull up, and Shadow's like, "Oh shit,"
He's absolutely crapping himself, isn't he?
I think given the circumstances, I would be too.
Yeah. Wednesday though, he's just like, hi. like he's happy to see them. He doesn't,
Right.
because he's already got plan B, well, not plan B, he's got he's accounted for this happening.
Oh yeah, that's why the business cards.
Yeah.
And so the police, he gives him his business card, he gives him Shadow's business card,
Mm-hmm.
and then they call payphone, and he right literally across the street,
Mm-hmm.
and he answers, and he was really wary about this, but like the minute he answers the phone, he goes into the part.
He does. It's kind of for a second when the phone starts ringing, he's kind of like, oh shit. And he's just like, oh, well, fuck it. It's like if he's going to, in for a penny, in for a pound. If he's going to do it, fuck, might as well make the most of it. And he really does go for it because he's offering the policeman a job.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
That's another thing straight out of the book. In fact, the one thing that was left out that I did like from the book is the cops like, well, this is highly irregular. In the book, he's like, has Jimmy been drinking again? Because if he has, I told him this is the last time he's going to be let go.
Yeah.
I was like, oh no, we're just concerned. There's only one guy on this job, and he's like, yeah, tell me about it. In fact, told about those assholes at the bank.
Yeah, and he's he's kind of like, oh, this is, I know it's awful and it's their fault and these are my guys, and and then he's kind of like making out that he could do with some more people because of this, and offering him some extra weekend work. I think it's pretty. He plays the part so well.
Oh yeah.
And it does kind of show you he can do these kind of things, but only when he has to.
Well, I can tell you from like having a bit of background in stage magic, like it's very similar to conning somebody.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're getting somebody to pay attention to one thing, and you're selling them a persona while you're doing something else. I mean, that's why Penn and Teller are so brilliant. Like Teller's perfectly capable of speaking, You can actually watch it.
Yeah, I've heard him talk in interviews and stuff.
Yeah, but the way he does his part really sells something about their act.
Mm. I think the one thing that's really funny is how people accept the fact that because there's a guy sat there in uniform, that it just, how many people just trust to hand over a big bag of cash to some guy sat outside the bank. Like, some people can be very, very gullible, especially with someone's perceived to be in a position of authority. So they just automatically, they're like, oh yeah, it's fine. Like, but people really are that naive. If that was me, I'd question that straight away.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would, but on the same note, I think it's just human nature to also, I mean, it's snowing,
Mm.
it's uncomfortable. You just got done with your work day.
Other people are doing it.
Do it.
Other people are. Makes people more likely to follow.
Yeah. And it's like you just got done with your work day. You want to, finish this up and go the F home.
Mm.
So and that's how most cons work on laziness, cupidity, or both.
Yeah.
Yeah. How can I make a buck fast?
Mm-hmm.
That's what most of them are designed around. I don't know if they're ever going to go into it in the show, but there's a conversation that Wednesday and Shadow have in the book, where Wednesday's explaining a certain classic con, the fiddle game. Actually, I think they do go into it in the second season. But there was a quote that's always stuck with me, and it's not impossible to steal from an honest man, but it's a lot more work.
Mm. Yeah, that rings a bell. They might have mentioned that in a certain episode in season 2.
But I've always thought that was a really apt quote.
Mm-hmm. Let's have a look.
So then they finish their bank robbery, hop in the car.
Yeah, that's it. And he says, "Do you believe in me now?" He's like, "I believe you exist." It's a bit of a non-answer. But he says that I deserve more faith than that. And this is kind of the beginning of him constantly just chipping away ever so slightly at Shadow, like wanting him to have faith in him and believe in him. And he's kind of subtly trying to get that point across to him. And it kind of becomes a bit more. He's kind of more obvious about it as the seasons go on.
Yes. And then we have the amazing speech about this is the only country in the world that wonders what it is.
Yes, no one wonders about the heart of Norway or goes searching for the soul of Mozambique.
Now, let me ask you, visiting America for the first time last month.
Hang on one second. Bronholler just said, can someone please say something in chat so I can work out if I'm still behind the audio? That's literally just popped up on the screen for me now, Bronholler. So there you go. And hi, Bobby.
Hey, Bobby. Good to see you. Always good to see you.
All right, where did we get to? So yeah, this conversation.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you had that sense at all during your short stay here in the States.
What?
That America tries to create an identity, but it doesn't really have an identity, or it has like such a plethora of different identities that it's almost a moot point.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where it's multicultural in a similar sense that I mean most countries are nowadays, like even obviously England or the UK as a whole is pretty small compared to the US, but even we have loads of different cultures here, but there is nothing really that because I think it's because it's such a big place that there's so it's so big and everything's so far away from everything else. There isn't like just this one thing that kind of joins everybody together that you'd kind of have.
Right, we have a national identity, but it's a very conflicted national identity.
Mm,
I think would be the way I'd put it.
and it's
And it's yeah, a lot of it's because the country is so huge.
mm,
I mean, if you include Alaska, the United States of America is bigger than Europe.
yeah, it's fucking enormous. But if you said to somebody, draw a caricature of a French person, and you'd draw, you'd get a stripy top and a string of onions and a beret. No one in France actually looks like that, but everybody knows that's supposed to be a French person. If you said draw a caricature of a British person, you'd probably get a guy in a bowler hat with an umbrella and a briefcase and a cup of tea, and everyone would go, "Oh, well, that's a British person." What would you draw though? For an American, because I genuinely like if somebody said, "Well, draw a caricature of an American person," I'd go, there isn't like this one specific like cultural thing that personifies the entire country,
Right.
even if it is just something like a stereotype or a caricature like that. It doesn't cover the whole. Like you could have you could say do a caricature of a typical American tourist, for example, who would be very loud, wearing a really stupid outfit, like a really loud Hawaiian shirt or something, and a camera, and talking very, very loudly at everybody. But that's,
And
again,
expecting everybody to speak their language.
yeah. But yeah, you'd get that, but that's just such a small little thing. You couldn't just say one thing that would sum up the country as a stereotype or a caricature. So you kind of get it from that point because you get these so many things that are sort of just inherently related to other countries. Like I said, the thing about the berets with France or a flamenco dancer for Spain. Just everybody recognises that that's what they're supposed to be,
Right.
and most countries would have something like that, but America as a whole doesn't. So
Yeah, and you just think people from different regions, and I know there are cultural and linguistic and so forth differences just in Britain,
mm,
which we have states that are bigger than Britain in the
yeah,
U.S. But just in Britain, there are those cultural differences from like this area, like Sussex to Wessex to the north to freaking Ireland to Northern Ireland.
mm,
There Scotland, Wales,
yeah.
Cornwall.
I mean, I could drive to Wales in 2 hours,
Right, but
and
it's a very different culture.
it is, yeah, very, very different. I mean, pretty much, I live pretty much smack bang in the middle of the country in Birmingham. I mean, it's the West Midlands specifically where I live, but even the Midlands as a whole, they're so different. Just all the different areas, even the accents. Our accents vary wildly, probably within smaller areas than in a larger country they would. But there is like this, although there's like this huge variation. we do still have like this sort of a more like a national identity that
Right.
that everybody would kind of recognise. And also that wouldn't be offensive. I think that's kind of another thing. Like, I'm trying to think how to explain it now. It's like I was saying, sort of your typical, like your caricature of like, you know, tea drinking and very posh and polite. I do drink tea, but I'm certainly not posh. I can be polite, but not all the time. That kind of thing. And I, you know, what most people think of as like a British accent is like is what's considered posh to us. It's actually a completely nondescript kind of. Yeah, and it's a pretty nondescript accent because it's not specific to any particular region, but it's not like an offensive thing to somebody to sort of assume that that's how they'd be. Whereas when you get into sort of more, it's like it's not a rude stereotype. I think that no one's going to be offended if you assume because they're English that they like drinking tea and they talk like the Queen. It's just funny. And you get that in other cultures, like French people don't walk around in onion necklaces with berets, and they think it's funny that people see them that way. Whereas with like American stuff, it's like anything that you could come up with that would be like a stereotype wouldn't maybe be offensive to someone because you know you'd be talking about I don't know people with guns or Native Americans in fucking great big headdresses, which is really fucking offensive to some people, and but none of these things can be used to identify the country as a whole.
Right.
I wish we spoke England English in America. England English, I love that. Robert from Indeed Geek speaks different from you. He does, and he doesn't live that far from me either. Probably less than an hour away. I think. I don't know exactly where he lives. I think it's near Stoke. Which yeah, it's about an hour away. So yeah, he has a slightly more posh accent. He has a posh Midlands accent. I have a common Midlands accent.
Don't worry, I have the most effed up accent on the planet, I think.
You have a really weird combination of various things.
Yeah. I'm a homogeny of different continents.
A mishmash. We're so ridiculously off topic now.
Actually, no, we're totally. I mean,
we're kind of at the end of the episode, though.
The entire point of you know, Wednesday's whole monologue here is, you know, like America really doesn't have an identity.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lot of Americans think we do, but as you know, theirs would be very different from somebody from down the road, let alone another part of the country. And you know, yeah, things that would surprise you could offend people.
Mm. I know that Brian Haller thinks both of us sound posh. Lady Laura Dane says, I don't know what the fuck kind of accent you have, John.
I have a Midwestern accent that is very heavily influenced by my Cork County Irish grandparents and my first girlfriend who was from Perth.
Or a real mishmash. You've gone 3 whole continents there.
Yes. And I also pick up cant real easily. It's completely unintentional. I pick up anybody I talk to. I pick up their cant, their slang, quite easily. So yeah, you can't really. Yeah, my accent's just a big is what happens after an orgy. You're never gonna figure out what's gonna be laying there on the bed.
You get a lot more Irish though the more you drink. the drunker you are, the more Irish you are. Oh, Bron Holler says you don't sound posh. Me and Robert from In Deep Geek do. And Shelley says Mexico's pretty small, and depending on the region, there's different accents as well. And the Spanish spoken is different. Yeah, it is. Like my cousin's wife's from the Dominican Republic, and one of her friends is actually Spanish, and it's really weird hearing them both talk Spanish to each other because that's when you can tell the difference in accents. But when they speak English, they sound the same. And it's only when they're speaking in their native language, although it's the same language, you can hear the differences in their accents. It's really weird. Lady Laura Jane thought you were from California.
From California. Apparently from California in like 1986. Like those guys who say tubular, dude. I really want to bring all those like god awful words back.
That just reminds me of a scene from Hocus Pocus.
Like bodacious.
Yeah.
Oh, that's bodacious, man. Actually, my California accent is really bad. I just sound like somebody from the Midwest who's really stoned. I can't pull it off properly.
So I can't tell that much. I literally can tell kind of Canadian, most of America, and Southern America. That's it. Not South America, like the Southern US, is what
Right.
I mean. But that's as far as I can tell with the differences between accents. It's really strange. Then, whereas I live in such a tiny, tiny country, and I can easily tell you where someone's from just from hearing.
I can usually call what state somebody's from by their accent, but not always. There are certain nuances, but like people talk about a New England accent, and they always think Boston, and no, people from New Hampshire, like there are similarities, but it doesn't sound like a Boston accent or Maine. Even other parts of Massachusetts, let alone other states. I mean, to me, it sounds different. Whereas to some other people who aren't used to those differentiations, you might not pick up those nuances.
Oh, Lanky Loredana said New York or New Jersey. I do recognise New York accent. That's one that I do know. Only because they're my favourite band, obviously. The amount of top and negative interviews I've watched over the years.
Well, Peter Steele has a messed up, because he's originally, like, his family's from Poland. So, like, Peter Steele's accent is like Brooklyn by way of Poland.
Yeah, but like the rest of the band are from Brooklyn as well, so you kind of get it from the other three.
Peter Steele, how you doing? I met him once. I mean, we've met in person. I'm a relatively tall man, not as tall as your husband, but relatively tall man.
You're about the same height as Ben.
Okay, but I met Peter Steele, and it was like, hi. I mean, he was like 6'7", 6'8", something like just a monster. Very nice though. Yeah, I miss him too, Lady Laura Dan.
Oh, yeah. I actually have a portrait of Peter Steele on my wall that I can see from here. I can't actually turn my laptop around to show you, but yeah, I have a whole little shelf of all bits and pieces of typo stuff. I've got what have I got? I've got some artwork stuff. I've got some signed stuff. I've got some stickers and drink coasters from Duff's in Brooklyn because they do the Memorial Night every year. Yeah. that I got from a lovely person in a typo negative grid. And I have a whole fucking half sleeve typo tattoo. But I'm not about to start stripping off on a live stream.
Oh, Brown Holler's got to head out. She's got to get the kiddies to school.
Oh, bye, Bron Holler.
Have a good
See you
night.
next week. And
I'm
have a
sorry
good
you don't
day.
understand her a lot.
It's not a bad thing that she doesn't have to ban people and delete comments. Don't invite the trolls into the chat.
Fair enough. Oh, so back to after this long derailment, which was actually, I think, pretty applicable to the entire story, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
so Shadow has to slam on the brakes because there's a wolf in the road.
Mm.
And there's that moment, like it's Wednesday and the wolf, and it's like, I mean, they make eye contact. It's just really interesting, the facial expressions that Wednesday has.
Yeah. Does he say so? He doesn't say anything about it, does he?
No. But then he does say, you can believe what you want. The world changed because of what you believe.
Yeah. This is that belief is only a product of the company we keep and how easily we scare. And you don't scare easily, and my company is questionable. So,
The Shadow's like, yeah, your company is definitely questionable.
Yeah. It's just the only thing that scares them is being forgotten. And that's like a big theme with the old gods. It really is. It's like he says, I can survive most things, but not that. And that is really true for the old gods. It is like, as long as people believe in them, then they're good. But if nobody believes in them anymore, they can't exist basically without that belief. Yeah, we remember what's important to us, he says. And then Shadow gets back to his hotel room to a surprise.
Yes. Well, first we see Sweeney shows back up in Eagle Point.
Oh, yes, he does. He does, doesn't he? This is because I'm looking at the script and there's no dialogue in that bit. Yes, we see him digging up Laura's grave. And you actually see a hole in the coffin where the coin has burnt right through. Goes right through the lining, and then nothing in the bottom, and the coffin's empty.
Yeah.
Although, how the fuck did she get out of there without leaving fairly obvious signs that she had dug through the soil?
Well, there was a big depression in the dirt.
Was there? I didn't
Yeah,
realise I noticed
in the
that.
grave dirt, there was a big depression. I mean, it wasn't huge, but you could
Enough
definitely.
that it had been disturbed.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
But there wasn't like dirt all over there. She didn't like explode out of the coffin like Beetlejuice or some shit like that.
No, I didn't notice that. So, yeah, and then there she
walks into his room and, hi, puppy.
It's just the most sickening nickname ever.
Yeah.
Especially for a big unpuppy-like guy. It's just it doesn't suit him at all, does it?
I forget, in the show, do they ever talk about where that came from? Because they do in the book.
Not until season 2. It was one of the fairly late on episodes of season 2, I think. We see that. And
Bye, Shelley.
Shelley,
Have a good day.
have a great time zone.
Have a great time, Zone. Oh, she hates
Hate
Dead Wife.
wife. Oh, come back next week and tell us if you've seen like all of the season 2 as well, or if you've read the book, because you might change your mind. And yeah, I guess it's still daytime, maybe.
Yeah, well,
So,
said she's in Mexico, which would be like, I think any part of Mexico would be like 1, maybe 2 time zones behind me, so that's like 4 in the afternoon.
oh wow, that's a lot
Or
further
3:30 in
behind.
the afternoon.
Yeah, so it's 20 to midnight here now. I've done the work day already. Lucky me.
Well, when Braun comes on here every week, she's getting the kids ready for school.
I know. It's like complete opposite. It's
Time
really
zones.
weird. Time zones are strange things.
Definitely. I don't know. You're probably
3:40 p.m.
3:40 p.m.
Yeah, so she's 9 hours behind me.
You're probably old enough to remember when you'd have to make international calls, like, not everybody had a computer and things like that. And yeah, talking to somebody who's in like the exact opposite time zone could always be such a
Oh,
mess.
yeah. I mean, it's something I still had to do in my previous job, setting up conference calls with people in other countries. That used to be fun. Our head office was in Kansas, and I think the times that we had to schedule calls for to sort of fit in with everybody else, we literally had like a 1 hour window where we could get everybody that needed to be in the call available and at work and not on lunch or leaving for the day or just getting in at the same time. It was really, really awkward. I would literally be sat there with Google and trying to match up like which time zone each person was in and like how to get them all in the same place at the same time without making someone get up in the middle of the night. It's not fun. I'm glad I don't do that job anymore.
Hi.
Never be a corporate PA, ever.
No, I want my own PA, but it wouldn't be a corporate job. It's just like I need a PA/maid.
I wouldn't do that either.
Yeah.
I hate cleaning my own house, let alone anybody else's.
I just need somebody to walk around like basically fixing everything that I mess up. You know, I'd pay
Game
well.
of Theories with Marie. It's just in the chat. Hello.
Hey, Game of Theories. Good to see you. Momentarily, though, it might be because we've literally got to the episode's end.
Yeah.
It's good to see you. We thank you for stopping in. Hope you're having a great day. Did anybody out in the chat have any final thoughts about the show? About this episode? All right, Marie, I can do that. I don't think there were any final thoughts or questions.
No, I think quite a few people have had to head off for their real life stuff.
So thank you all for coming out. I hope you had fun talking about this episode. Next week we'll be doing the 4th, which I can't remember the title.
I can tell you it is next episode. Get Gone.
Get Gone. So I hope you're looking forward to that. We'll talk about that. In case you haven't had a chance to check it out, I've finally started doing music content on my channel again. So please check it out. Trying to drop videos pretty often and regularly.
The most recent one was really good. Very interesting.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it shows you how to type Bach and Dragon Force together, which actually there are a whole lot of correlations.
Which was surprising. It was really good. I enjoyed that. I watched that on my lunch break today.
Oh, thank you.
While I was eating my soup. Oh, Marie's only just had breakfast. Oh my God. What time zone are you in then, Marie? It's 1:45 here, so you must be like literally on the other side of the world if you've only just had your breakfast.
Are you in Australia where Brown Holler is? Because I know
Yeah, she's Australia as well.
back to
Yeah.
school. Okay.
Oh, there we go. Quite literally the opposite side of the world to me. So.
Are you 2 time zones in Australia, or is it 3?
Oh, that's the point. Yeah, there's more than one, isn't there? I just completely didn't think that there's more than one there. And there is, because Australia is massive.
I mean, it's pretty big.
Yeah, I think Bronhollers isn't quite as far behind. Like, she's not 12 hours behind me, kind of.
I know she's 14 hours behind me.
Oh, okay. So she'd be 19 hours behind me? Oh, that's
9
a lot.
hours. She's 14 hours
Oh,
ahead of
no.
me. So she'd be 9 hours
Sorry, I
ahead.
can't count. Anyway.
Oh,
Now we can tell that it's nearly midnight because I can't maths.
I can't. All right. Well, everybody, thank you for coming out. I hope you had a great time. I hope you enjoyed this episode and our discussion about it. Really, it's just great that everybody keeps showing up every week to chat about this. And doesn't mind that we waffle for half an hour about accents.
Only half an hour.
So thank you all for coming out. I hope you have a wonderful night. If you are free this Friday night at 9 Eastern Standard Time, we got Cylon Johns, which if you've not watched it, there's some catching up to do, but we're doing spoiler-free rewatch. And my lovely friend here is a member of our first-time watcher panel, which is always awesome. And so I hope to see you all soon. And in the meantime, believe.
Bye.